My name is Gardy. I have Dr. Aaron Chapa with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center here in studio. I'm going to kick this on the FM. If you're watching on social media, thank you so much. Feel free to share this out, ask questions. Also, you can go back and listen to all these past episodes on Facebook, or if you are an audio person, you can do that through podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to the Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center podcast. I'm going to kick this on the FM. Here we go. Good morning. This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. I have Dr. Aaron Chapa with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center in studio. Dr. Chapa, how you doing today?
Dr. Chapa's here? Really?
He's here in the building.
Oh, my goodness. I know him. What movie's that? You know what movie that is?
Is that Elf?
That is Elf. I know. It's not the Christmas
Santa.
spirit, but I am totally love that movie. And
Yes.
it's so cool when you can take a Christmas movie and reference it in the middle of the summer.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Dr. Chapa,
That's called
Elf,
wellness.
Santa.
That's right. I mean, I'm already ready. I'm already there.
I will say, whenever you walked in, you said, I don't know if you're ready for me today.
I did.
I said, I'm about as ready as I'm going to be. I think it's going to be a good day.
It's just going to be a great day. There's no question. I'm so glad to be here with everybody. Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center loves the idea of wellness. We love the idea of you taking the bull by the horns and getting healthy again and doing your part in moving your health from where it is currently to where you want it to be. And too often people are still stuck in a rut thinking that age is, a doom and gloom thing. Like they're going to feel the aging process. They're going to be doomed to having joint pain and depression, anxiety, heart issues, high blood pressure, sleep issues. I mean, you name the conditions, you name the symptoms. And people are it's kind of come to the place where they just go, well, my doctor says, well, welcome to getting aging or older, and I'm cautious, to buy into that. I mean, even at 42, I mean, there's things that I feel right now that I didn't feel at 32. I mean, for sure, but I don't know that is the result of aging, other than maybe the result of stress. And how stress hormones play a part in our overall well-being and health, sleep quality, food choices, and attitude. You know what I mean? Like, attitude is gratitude. I mean, the fact that I was able to get up today and go through my morning routine again, made me happy. Because I was like, even though I was a little slower this morning than normal. I got after it, and one step, all of a sudden I'm around the block, coming back in with my dogs on their walk, and I said, all right, Lord, we had breakfast, we've already worked out. There's already a lot that I've put into my day, and it's just getting started, which is really exciting because how we as people are very patterned. But sometimes the patterns that we follow are disease patterns, and that I think that is the thing that we want to interrupt. Is we want to interrupt whatever disease pattern you are walking down and pull you off that path and see if we can get you making some choices, lifestyle changes, and modify things that you put into your diet or your mouth day in and day out. And guess what? I think you're going to see a different result. Because if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, and you expect something different, what do they call that?
They call that insanity.
Yeah, I mean, it's like an old cliche term now, right?
It's a little harsh, in my opinion.
It is, because sometimes it's hard to go, oh,
yeah,
like that moment when you realize, oh, it's on me.
I think it helps you be self-aware. It helps bring that into the equation.
And I think therein lies step one in healing and restoration and regeneration and getting back to the basics of what you need to thrive and have the vim, vigor, and vip that you need for longevity is the education, the awareness, the self-awareness, looking and introspecting into the body. And so, today I was just looking at different things that we do at the office, and it's fascinating to me. People come in and they haven't had a thorough, inspection of their health. We do an amazing history at the office. I mean, our goal truly is to turn over the stones and listen to the story that you have and where you've been and what you've done to try to get healthy and why your things aren't working, and try to help you find that underlying cause that can help you spur forward and moving onward, upward, good, to Godward, to feel your best, to live your best, and to perform at your best, day in and day out. And when people come in and they haven't had blood testing done in years, I ask them why. Like they don't realize that, hey, I think I'm doing good. Well, there's not a lot of confidence in that statement, I think. Well, and I'm not saying that everybody needs to do testing all the time, but man, if you haven't done testing in years and you're over 30, you ought to. I mean, you've been on the planet 30 years. Why wouldn't you want to assess your environment, assess kind of like check engine light, baseline where you're at? I mean, I do it with swimming pool. I do it with my fish tank. I do it with different things. You want to look at the quality of the water before you go swimming in it or letting something swim in it or let your dog drink out of it. You know what I mean? And so testing the chemistry of the body is an important piece of the wellness plan. And people still don't know that living well, we do blood test. We do stool test. We look at saliva studies. We look at hormone panels and from a dried urine perspective. We look at blood typing analysis. We look at how the detox pathways are functioning through with this test called an organic acids test. We look at hair, metals, and chemical overload in the body through different hair testing. We're open to test if we need to. We're going to try and be specific with those testing dollars, because you can go broke testing, and our goal isn't to test you out of therapy, meaning you don't have any money left over to fix what you found. We want strategic in how we approach the bottom line so that you can assess your system and then tweak, work, and navigate the health terrain. And so when people come in and they've not had some of these assessment tests done, one of the simplest things we should do, because it's across the board appreciated on both sides of the wellness perspective, the functional perspective, and the medical perspective, the pathological disease perspective, is blood type or blood testing. And so we look at blood tests from what we call a full picture, a full watch look. And we want to see everything from your lipid panel to your complete metabolic panel to your complete blood count. We want to look at vitamin D. We want to look at liver. We want to look at thyroid. We want to look at minerals. We want to look at your adrenals. We want to look at stomach acids. And your blood test that you're doing currently might not be robust enough in order to give you these pictures of where you are from a systemic 20,000-foot view look at the body chemistry set. And, we want to encourage people to, hey, if you're just going to an endocrinologist and getting a thyroid panel, there's 6 different ways to evaluate the thyroid, and you might only be getting 1 or 2. And so we want to make sure that you're getting the most encompassing look at your thyroid. But when you look at the thyroid, why wouldn't you take a look at the liver? Why wouldn't you take a look at the stomach acids? Why wouldn't you make a note of if you're anemic or not? So we don't want to just look at thyroid, because thyroid as a standalone test, in my opinion, is useless. Because if the thyroid's out of sorts, I have found in practice, and I speak a lot to what my practice has taught me over the years, as opposed to what I read and what I think. It's what I see. It's what clinic has taught me, and patient experience has taught me greatly, that the thyroid is most often bullied. It is not actually the problem. It's not the root cause. It's the symptom, the downstream effect of something bigger that needs to be addressed. And so we go and look. What does a sluggish liver look like? Oh my gosh. Your liver enzymes aren't like cirrhotic, but they're not good. So just because they're not medically pathologic doesn't mean they're not functionally or from a wellness perspective in line. And so we want to address that.
Here's a question, Dr. Chapa, if you don't mind.
I don't mind at all. I love it. Bring questions. Lots and lots of questions. I love fielding questions more than I like making stuff up.
Yeah. So this is from Becky. She asked, she said, what is the cost of a general assessment? We were talking about testing and all that stuff. So a general assessment, and is it covered by insurance?
So oftentimes the blood test that we run in our office can be run through insurance providers. If you have a catastrophe type insurance, maybe not. This is a $2,500 blood test. Don't turn the dial. It's okay.
Everybody turned it off.
Yeah, I know. They're like, oh, well, it's over. No. Insurance literally will cover this 100% in my practice. I see it all the time from the blood perspective. They will cover it through and through. They might fight you on a vitamin D. Weirdly, Pathological Medical Society has accepted vitamin D as a valuable test, but insurance, who unfortunately is playing medicine today, and that is a tragedy, guys. I mean, seriously, they actually deem it as an experimental test, and it's not always, say, fight us a little bit, covered. And but oftentimes still, I don't have a whole lot of problems with it. People do get it covered. And so if you do have insurance, it will cover that. Now, for those of you that don't have insurance, the good news is you have a Dr. Chapa discount. Who likes Dr. Chapa discounts?
I like that one.
Give me a smash like. And so at the end of the day, we have a discount. I believe it's like the whole test, and there is over 60 plus line items that we evaluate in our blood testing. Everything, again, from a lipid panel to a complete metabolic panel to a complete blood count. And you're going, well, I don't know what any of that means. Well, we're going to look at inflammation. That's a piece of our blood test that we look at. We look at thyroid health. We look at liver health. We look at minerals in the body. We look at adrenal function. We look at cellular communication function. We can see all this in this blood test. That's crazy. We can look at stomach acids and determine, what? You're 30 years old and you've got 3 out of 4 markers that indicate low stomach acids? You have wrecked your stomach. We've got to fix that. And Bob Marshall always taught me that if I can fix a person's stomach, we can help them immensely, because you're only as good as the food you digest and absorb.
What are ways that you would wreck your stomach?
So antacids, Tums, high-level stress jobs, not being dehydrated, having indulging in too much beverage of alcoholic choice. Aspirin a day is one of the leading causes of stomach bleeds and stomach irritation, and completely a way to wreck the stomach. And you might be thinking, well, that's not me, but I still have heartburn. Oh, you might simply have a hiatal hernia, where you have this mild little glitch where the stomach is wedged up on the wrong side of the esophageal sphincter, going into the esophageal space on the thoracic cavity closer to the lung and heart, and it's creating a change in the way that acids are produced. And you just might need a little visceral manipulation, very painless, very non-invasive, and very quick and easy. I've seen people that have had no appetite restored in a day. I've seen people that had belly pain for 6 weeks restored in a day.
You talk about, that's what you do to me sometimes, right? Whenever I come in, the visceral manipulation.
And working on the viscera, that's right, the organs of the body. And so sometimes manually kneading those or working those tissues or realigning those tissues is as important as somebody pushing on your back. It makes sense? And so the good news is, when we look at these blood panels, the Dr. Chapa discount takes a $2,500 blood test down to like $330, something like that, And so if that is your cash price, I mean, you're saving a ton of money. And I think that's cool, but I think it's unfortunate that I can get something for $300 that insurance is paying $2,500 for. To me, there's a little bit of a weird look there,
right?
Fishy to me, if you will. But whatever, that's the for another show. We'll talk about all the things that I see.
Tune in next week.
That's right, for my conspiracy
same time,
eyes.
same place,
and we could go down that rabbit hole. We might get a lot of listeners,
probably.
But anyway, the blood testing is revealing. It really is, and if you're not taking a look and expecting more than you're willing to inspect, you could be missing a huge piece of your healthcare plan. And we can grade this, and we can have a baseline and reassess, and then and we can spot check certain things throughout the year. But you should at least have a full panel once a year minimum. 6 months would be great. younger people, in the teenage years once a year, especially if they play sports, especially if they are active. People wonder, should kids get blood testing done? Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, we sit there and put them in the heat and run up and down a field with a bunch of pads on. I mean, that's got to be stressful on the body.
Oh, I was at Texas City High School's football practice yesterday because we're doing some game of the week stuff this fall in the Galveston County area, and those kids are going through it. It's hard work. It brought back flashbacks.
Oh
but
yeah,
it's hot.
It's hot
outside.
Hot as blazes, and so for me, I think that why not assess? Again, checking the chemistry of the fluids of the body. Your blood is your lifeblood. And so the healthier it is in balance, the better. And when you can see what we call in our Living Well's office a functional test or a wellness test, we will oftentimes see that blood testing comes in our office, and when you look at the in ranges compared to out of ranges, we'll see a lot of things inside the range. And that's good news. Now, the challenge with that is that from a pathological perspective, there's nothing they can do medically to support a person that doesn't have anything red flagged. In my office, as a functional practitioner, as a wellness practitioner, we teach that they're weeds. There are weeds to still evaluate, weeds to still look at, and you can see, if you will, the hand writing on the walls, and we can pluck those weeds out by addressing these different factors and see, hey, a weed is way easier to get rid of than an oak tree. It's way less expensive, and that's where that model of an ounce of prevention is worth a
pound of cure.
And so we want to go down that hole and make sure that everything is moving forward, because we could look at all 60 plus of these items, and you could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 markers showing anemia, and you've got, say, 5 of them out of 8. Well, guess what? There's nothing else on this test that we really need to be worried about until we address the delivery system. Because if your delivery system is broken, if the mail's not coming, if the trash man's not coming, if the FedEx man's not coming, if the UPS guy's not coming, if our delivery system, our own means of transportation can't get us to and from work, to and from school, to and from wherever we're going in our day, we're in trouble. And anemia is that by definition. It's an inability for your delivery system to carry the nutrients in a healthy enough way to the tissues and to excrete waste back. And so we've got to make sure that a person is not anemic. That would be the very first thing that I would look at. I'd look at iron, ferritin. I would look at the complete blood count on the red blood cell, hemoglobin, hematocrit, the MCV, MCHC, MCH, and RDW, wanting to look at and assess, is this person anemic? Do they have red blood cell destruction, like good cells breaking down too quickly? And it will give us insight to possible bugs, parasites that could be disruptive or causing some kind of internal bleed. And so we look at that, and then we would just carry that forward. All right, well, what is the immune system assessment RPMs looking like? Is the body running an overdrive at red hot speeds, or is it balanced? So, I'm looking at a profile right here, and I just grabbed one that was, in my review pile last night. I was walking out the door. I was going to look at it this morning, and thought we'd just talk about blood, and this one has, a high white blood cell count, which means that the system is in overdrive. The white blood cells should be like balanced out right at 7. 5 to 7.5 would be like a healthy range, or I guess 6 to 7.5 would be my healthy range. And in this case, she's 14.1. So at 14.1, that's acute. That means she's got a raging, active, infectious pattern to look at. And I'm like, that pattern can be addressed. How can we address that? Well, let's see if we have any more information. Do we have, the rest of the white blood cell differential? Because a lot of times I'll see docs run this stuff, and they just run a white blood cell count, but they don't run the breakdown. Let's break it down into its constituent parts and see, who makes up the majority or the minority of inflammation or pathogen profile. And you can see that with our blood testing at Living Well. Neutrophils, for example, in this case, is a marker that makes up the white blood cell count. And on its percentage, if 100% of the whole white blood cell count, this should be running between 52 and 62% of the total white blood cell count. I know it's a little sciencey and maybe overwhelming, but just simply think of it this way. We're looking at, can we figure out if you've got a bacteria pattern of infection present in your body actively right this second, or do you have a viral pattern present? It might not assess if you got COVID or or strep or staph, but it does give you an insight to patterns of bacteria, because the immune system has an approach to how it deals with a bacteria that's very different than how it addresses a virus. So in my office, we're not treating, curing, or diagnosing anything. We're looking at patterns and trends. And because we take this as a sample, a snapshot of the terrain, how does it looking at 8 a.m. on a Monday morning? How's it looking in the snapshot in time? Oh, well, maybe we shouldn't have done it Monday. They just came off a wedding weekend. Who knows what they did? Or maybe we should wait till Wednesday, because blood can change relatively fast, but some of these patterns won't. Like anemia is not necessarily going to change overnight, and this white blood cell runs a course. Most bugs that we are fighting today, bacterial, viral, parasitic, fungal, especially, or not especially, but are self-limiting, meaning your body will figure out how to subdue them and headlock them and get them to tap out, go back into submission. That's the good news. That's the power of your immune system. But we want to look at the terrain and say, is this terrain suitable for sparring? I mean, if I want to give my guys, my healthy living organisms, to fight better, to fight cleaner, to fight faster, more efficiently than the bad bugs. So I want to feed the good guys. I want to make sure the terrain is in my favor. Everybody loves home field advantage. Good news. But if you don't inspect, you can't expect too many things different than what you already got. And so in this case, we see 62% is where it should be on those neutrophils, and she's at 67.5. Well, what's that mean? That means that she's got a active, as we saw on the white blood cell being 14 too high, and the neutrophils being above that 62 at 67.5. That's a bacterial pattern of infection. What are we going to do about that? Well, let's just keep looking. Let's go look at lymphocytes. And we go, all right, the lymphocytes are 21.7. This definitely looks like an inflammatory bacterial pattern. Again, not treating, curing, or diagnosing anything, just looking at the patterns. And we see this and go, okay, let's keep looking. Let's get the rest of the picture here. Monocytes, that should be less than 7% of the makeup of the white blood cell count, and it's at 6.7. It's under 7, so that's good. But it's pushing the top of that envelope. And anything over 7 means that there's trash in the blood. So she's not it's like this is that little message on your email that says, you better buy another 14,000 terabytes because you're maxed out the 13,000 terabytes that you had. And your mailbox is full, and you need to empty that thing out. She's close to trashing her blood with excess amounts of toxins, anything her body cannot use in this makeup here. And then we look at the eosinophils and go, that should be less than 3%. She's at 3.3%. It ain't bad, but again, it's pushing that envelope, which means intestinal inflammation, irritation. There could be parasites, could be food allergies. There's a lot of things sitting right there.
Here's a question that came in, and this kind of ties in, I think, to both things that we were talking about before and now. It says, my 92-year-old mom suffers greatly with acid reflux and has a hernia. She lives on medication for it, and the medication causes other things like diarrhea. It's a pattern that's exhausting for her, and she was asking about the visceral manipulation, if that could help, or I guess
100%
things with the stomach.
And she's, if I read, you said 92?
92.
Amazing, praise God, right? But you think at 92 she's put some miles on that body? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, it just goes without saying. But how blessed she is that she's 92, but she's got a lot of discomfort, intestinal discomfort. So in her case, the visceral manipulation would be key. because we can gently, not massage, but manipulate the tissues of her liver, her ileocecal valve, the junction between the small and large intestine. That's what that's called, the ileocecal valve. We can look at the stomach and make sure the stomach is not, adhered to the liver tail, that medial head of the liver. We can make sure that that stomach's not wedged up on the wrong side of the diaphragm, and we can start making sure that she's getting the best out of her digestive capacity she has. And of course, the medications, we would look at what she's taking, and we would find out why she's taking them, and then we might start building a plan biochemically to address what she's taking the drugs for, not taking her off the drugs. We're building her up so that she might have less and less and less and less symptoms that she was having before, where she can confidently go to her doctor and get off the meds, which would be powerful and wonderful and great, right? So now she's a 92-year-old drug-free woman. You think that might give her more, vim, vigor, and vip? You think that might give her a little more spring in her step? Of course it will, because I don't care if it's an aspirin or if it's like tramadol, something real powerful. It's still hard on your system. It's still irritating to the tissues. It's still a drug. It's still a foreign chemical that does not grow on a tree, that's been manufactured in a lab, that's stressing out the body. You know what I mean? So like if we can enhance body physiology, and I've seen it at 90, I've seen it at 85, I've seen it at 97. I mean, it's amazing to me. All earth suits are designed to regenerate and heal, and of course we do age, and none of us gets out of here alive, but it is always regenerating, and if it's regenerating faster than it's degenerating, you live longer. You feel better. You perform better. It's good stuff. Who likes that? I do. I love it. So we look at blood testing in that way. We want to look at, all right, well, now we've assessed that this person's got anemia patterns. They have white blood cell active infection. Well, how good will a drug defense be, or even a wellness plan be, if they can't deliver the nutrients to their destination? Not very. So we would address, in this case, the anemia first, and then we would start building up the immune system, sequentially building it up, where every month we're like asking, hey, do you have enough juice to pump out some more natural killer cells? Do you have enough juice to give us some more, T cells? Can we get some more? If I give you more nourishment, will you give me more immunity? Everybody wants immunity on the shows, right? And if you can get immunity, life is good, better, more confident, because it's less thing that you have to worry about. And so we would look at that. Then we would say, all right, how's this liver doing? Well, liver actually looks perfect. No problem. AST, ALT, GGT, these are gallbladder liver enzymes that we can assess and see. We'll look at the ALK phos and determine whether or not, liver's in distress or not. And here, it is. There is some liver congestion there, but it's only 1 out of 4, so we're not overly concerned. But we aren't going to turn a blind eye to that. We're going to be cognizant, because the liver, 80% of your liver can be destroyed and never, ever, ever show up on a blood panel. Guys, seriously, that should make you a little bit nervous. It makes me nervous because I have good liver enzymes, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. That's just how resourceful and how powerful and how magnificent God created the liver. The liver's the giver, is what we always learn in school. If you take care of the liver, it'll take care of you, is what my practice has taught me. And guess what? There's over 1,500 pathways, known scientific pathways the liver's performing and indulging in and day out. Tell me that's not nuts. And so what do we want to do? We want to maximize the liver. And so in this case, we would come in and be, with the history, with the questionnaires, with the blood, where it's at, I can say that we cannot take our hands off this liver. But I can't ask the body to detox yet, because she's anemic, because she's got a raging fire. We're looking at C-reactive protein, an inflammatory marker. It should be less than 1 on my functional wellness plans. And, this gal's at 4.7. So that means that she's got a fire in her body. And, I mean, it's not a 10 cardiovascular risk, but it is still 4.7 should be less than 1. That means systemically, throughout the whole body, there is fires spreading wildly. They're wildfires. And the body is showing that. Well, it could be an infection causing it. It could be the anemia not delivering nutrients and oxygen to the tissues like it's supposed to. There's a lot of reason for why it could be there. And then looking at that liver, knowing her history, looking at her scores on her questionnaires, we go, yep, we better go ahead and support a little bit of blood building and liver support to maximize those 1,500 pathways that aren't probably, based on the anemia, getting done. And if there's something we want to maximize, is liver function. If there's something we want to maximize, it's immune function. But again, we've got to go in a hierarchy, a priority order. Isn't this helpful? It helps you kind of break down like, oh, my blood is actually useful. Why don't they ever give this information to us? I don't know. They don't run enough of it really to assess you from a whole, head to foot, inside and out perspective. They only look at a thyroid, or they only look at your hormones, or they only look at your liver. You can't do that. You got to look at the whole. The whole helps you put the picture and pieces together, and that's where I think the true difference is at Living Well. We give people education to understand, and understanding, knowledge is power. Knowledge, it gives them comfort, helps them realize they're not dying. This is fixable. You know, it's not pathological, it's functional, it's wellness. There's weeds in your garden, big deal, let's go pluck them. I'll get out there and get on my knees with you. I'll get my hands dirty with you, and we'll pluck and pull. Doesn't that sound fun? Not really. But it is good for you, right? And for longevity, what do you want your health to look like when you're done building it? I hope that you want to be 92, fully functional in spirit, mind, and body, drug-free, alive and well, strong and mighty, cognizant in the mind, right? Who doesn't want that? You know, absolutely. You better be smashing that like button. Heck yeah. Amen to that, Chop Man. I'm all for that. Well, how do I get it? Well, first you got to be willing to inspect a few things. You got to be willing to come in for a visit and be a patient, be a wellness client, get under care so that you aren't trying to doctor yourself, because there's things that we can see because we're unemotionally attached to you. You're kind of attached to you, and that's cool. We know we're all a little bit self-centered and selfish, and that's cool. But in this case, we're giving you permission to be a little bit selfish and self-centered because you're reflecting on the earth suit God's given you, and you're not just sitting idly on the sideline, scoping and hoping that you don't get a wedgie. You know,
right?
From the upperclassmen, that would be no fun, right? You're freshmen or go back to school, and they're like, "What? They still give wedgies at high school?" Yeah, they might find you. And I remember that was always my biggest fear as a ninth grader.
Getting a wedgie?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because we were at the North Campus, which was we were only ninth graders, and we would go play ball with the 10th, 11th, 12th graders at the South Campus. And I mean, that was the rumor that you're going to come off the bus and there's going to be just upperclassmen there lined up through a gauntlet, you know, pulling your underwear up to your ears. You know?
That's why they separated these campuses in the first place.
That did not happen to me, thank God. I was so thankful. But I did see some wedgies happen, and good gravy. It wasn't pretty.
It's left an impression for sure, right?
It did. It burned an image in my limbic system. Maybe that'll go away. All right, let's talk about something else. I'm getting nervous.
Okay, no, here's a question that did come in. This is from Celion. She wants to know what your thoughts are on sea moss. She said she's seen a lot of it, advertising, you know, helping with inflammation, some other things. What are your thoughts? Yeah,
it's an exotic mineral source, and I'm a firm believer in minerals, guys. Minerals. I'm all about vitamins, minerals, and essential fats. Those are my like three triad of health. If you did nothing more than take our energy force, our Q force, our mineral force, and our omega force, you've got a robust vitamin, mineral, essential fatty acid plan. The moss is just what we would call exotic minerals. Why do we call it exotic? Because how many people are licking moss? How many people are eating moss? You know what I mean? I use from Spanish tillandsia. It's basically the moss in the trees. It's that helps to give Spanish lymphatic systems a cleanse. So these mosses have the ability to just give us extra minerals, exotic minerals, meaning minerals we're not consuming on the regular because people are afraid to take in these things, right? So I think in this case, as long as you're trusting of the source, and that you could call the company, you could research how they get it, how they process it, what are their standards, and you could figure out fairly quickly through their ability to answer those questions or inability to answer those questions, or the paperwork they're willing to share with you, or the research they're willing to give you on that product, and determine whether or not it's coming from a clean source. And but nonetheless, minerals. You cannot go wrong. Without minerals, you cannot electrically drive the body towards wellness. And we see that, in blood tests here with the complete metabolic panel, looking at sodium and potassium and chloride and calcium and phosphorus and magnesium. And when we look at these minerals and their balance, they can give us an indicator light of adrenal function. They can give us an indicator light of blood sugar regulation systemically throughout the body, how the body metabolizes sugar, how it uses sugar. It can give us insight to whether a person is able to store some of these minerals up so that they're not developing osteoporosis at younger and younger ages, and it hits them in their elderly years. We don't want that. We want to be prepping the body for famine, if you will, recognizing that we need to stockpile minerals. And so if you can grab hold of that idea, I think then if Spanish moss is the sea moss products that are out there floating around right now, I think that is a grand idea to put into the arsenal. I like your algae as well, like the blue and the green and brown algae. I mean, these have good exotic properties. The one that we use in our office is called Premier Greens. It literally tastes like grass, and it's not bad, but it isn't like great either. It tastes literally like, it makes me, when I open the powder and it kind of that aroma comes up, it makes me think of a barn, horse hay. But I go, I don't think I'm going to eat horse hay today, but I do know that I'm not going to get some of these nutrients if I'm not willing to indulge. So, bottoms up, teaspoon in a cup, and shoot it down, be done with it. Or mix it with the Greens 8000, chocolate or vanilla, chocolate or mocha, or the strawberry kiwi or the mint, which is 21 servings of fruits and vegetables packed in a powder that's loaded with antioxidants, that's loaded with basic nutrients that your body needs to function and thrive regularly on a daily basis, and it tastes good. The idea of vegetables and fruit packed in a powder tasting good is kind of like an oxymoron. But in this case, Green's World does a great job of bringing these sources of nutrients together and then leveraging it as a drink. And you can put it in a bottle of water, drink the top off the water just a little bit, and then make your little paper funnel and drop a scoop in there, and bada bing, bada boom. We've done that on the show before, and it tastes good. Nobody really complains that it tastes bad, especially when you think about what you're getting value-wise. And so that's kind of a neat idea. Good question.
Was that whenever we did the show at Watergrove?
Mm-hmm.
We were doing all those tastings.
Yeah.
It was like, what do you think about this one? I was like, I can't talk.
Yeah. So and we should maybe do another one. That'd be fun. But it's just amazing what testing can reveal to us. And and then as we keep going and we look at, say, for example, stool testing. I don't have as much time to go through some of the stool test diagnostics, but I could maybe another day. But just a quick glance. When we look at a stool test, we're looking at the DNA analysis of a person's stool. So this is another self-assessment. Now, this one is a little bit more expensive, and this is why we don't run a ton of them. But the more I practice, the more I recognize, man, we got to figure out a way to get these costs down. So we did. Standard Process has sponsored a stool testing company, and we're currently in the research aspect of it right now, and it's like less than $150, and you can get a pretty good assessment of what's going on in your bowel. And but this particular one that I'm looking at, so what I would call the Rolls Royce, it's a Diagnostic Solutions Laboratory GMAP test, and this GI map is a map of the terrain. It gives us a picture of what we call pathological, dangerous, armed bugs. bacterial, parasitic, viral. Whoa. You should have none of these in your body. You should not have C. diff, right? You shouldn't have E. coli. You shouldn't have Shigella or Salmonella. You shouldn't have Cryptosporidium. You shouldn't have Giardia, right? And I've seen patients that have had sufferings of depression, anxiety, all kinds of brain fog. The programs they're on aren't working. We do a stool test, and sure enough, bada bing, we see C. diff, or we see Giardia, or we see a Salmonella poisoning. And guess what? If that doesn't get fixed, nothing that you're going to do, it's like the anemia, will never, ever, ever improve in your health. All the ideas are good ideas and probably the right ideas, but out of sequence. If you don't address priorities, which is what testing does, it allows you to inspect appropriately accordingly in order to get down to business. But I find in practice, because we use a lot of whole food protocols, we get to the basics, we're not doing extravagant, crazy things, we find that a lot of times people's symptoms resolve without all the testing. But when we have 30 days or 60 days and a person's not moving forward, we're more apt to investigate a little more deeply. Doing stool test would be my second go-to, blood test being the first. And, but there's a part of me, and people have heard me say this, what is the most important system of the body we should be regularly working on?
I'm going to say digestive.
100%. All life starts and stops at the cellular level. Nutrition is the fundamental backbone, right? Well, if all life starts and stops at the cellular level and nutrition is the fundamental backbone, where do you get nutrition from?
When you digest it, you eat it.
You eat it, you digest it, you absorb it.
And you excrete what you don't need.
You excrete what you don't need, and you assimilate what you do need, right? So there's two paths that it goes, the excretion of what we don't and the assimilation of good things from what we do. And so there's a part of me that says, man, as much as I love blood, now remember I said I like the blood for one reason. It's a universally accepted tool across all three fronts, the wellness, the functional, and the pathological medical. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So because it's an appreciated language across all three planes, we start there. That's my rationale. I think it's a fair rationale. But my heart would be the GMAP. My heart would be the evaluation of the bowel, the stool, because you're only as good as what you absorb. You're only as good as what you can digest. And so this test can give us that. So the first page better be zeros across the board. You don't want to see any of these boogers because they are nasty. They will kick you in the pants. They will headlock you. They will poop all over you. That's what these all are. These are these toxins that they put off. And when there's an overgrowth of these bugs, your health is in the toilet, literally. Not a good place to be. Nobody wants to be swimming around in the toilet. Nobody. I brought these papers home last night, and there's like 3 or 4 of them in my possession right now. I said, Dash, I was talking to my 13-year-old. I said, do you want to go, check out some poop with me?
What'd he say?
He goes, sure.
Nice.
He's a good character.
Yeah.
And he knows how to play the game. He knows Daddy. He knows that I'm full of laughs and full of jokes, and you got to keep it light even whenever it's serious. And your health, guys, your digestive health, I remember Mark Victor Hansen said, I'm not trying to offend you. I'm trying to educate you, right? And I love that because, we get so like, oh, I can't believe you said poop on the radio, and I'm like, well, if you don't hear it from me, then I'm doing you a disservice. If you're not willing, I love my favorites, like little kids, and I'll ask them, "Did you go poop today?" They look over at their parents, like, "Can I answer that?" He just said poop,
right?
And it's or teenage girls, they look at their mom like, "What Twilight Zone did you just bring me to? I'm embarrassed. You parent are at fault here for bringing me in front of this person to ask me about such vile conversation." No, it's healthy conversation. If you don't assess what is coming out of you and appreciate that it is coming out of you, so many people don't even know that they have a bowel movement in a day. I go, what do you mean? You don't if you're unsure, then we're going to call it constipated until you prove me otherwise, right? Because, you should know. It should be such an experience. You should feel good, amazing, great, relief, restoration immediately happening upon evacuation. That's a good thing. And then so on page 2 of this test, we look at other pathological bugs, H. pylori, Helicobacter pylori, a very dangerous little booger. And we see this guy, and we go, whoa, we shouldn't be seeing that, in abundant mass in the intestinal tract. Nor should we see its virulence factors. So this person's got 2 positive virulence factors, and these are different, like what I would call the type of excretion waste matter that the bug is putting off. And these things can be very irritative to the intestinal tract. They can cause ulcers. They can cause intestinal inflammation. They can cause a disruption in absorption. They can cause many factors to break down and not escalate in a good way. And so we want to evaluate, do you have this little bug? Because it's a nasty one. And it will, work its way out of balance in your stomach, and it will cause all kinds of stomach distress, literal stomach tissue, mess up. Looking for a different word, but whatever. It's just a bad place for this bug to be out of control. And so then we look at the normal flora patterns. They call commensal bacteria. And here we're looking at things like your, bacteroids, your bifidobacterium. You're looking at your enterococcus, and you're thinking, what is he saying? These are just different types of normal living bugs in your intestinal tract that are your friends. They help the assimilation of nutrients whenever is presented with food. They break it down and help the body go, this is a good one, this is a good one, throw that one out, this is a good one, this is a good one, throw that one out. Oh, and that one too, he looks a little suspicious. Let's bring this one in, right? So your body can tell the difference. The healthier these normal flora, the healthier the nutrients. You don't want to be eating really clean, and again, you're only as good as the food you absorb, right? Well, if these guys all have a headache and they're not performing at their best, guess what? You might be letting good nutrients slip by, good minerals slip by. And then all of a sudden, you're not absorbing these nutrients. You're not getting the restoration at the cell level. You're having the symptoms that are causing you distress, headaches, migraines, anxiety, depression. You can't sleep. You don't have enough energy to get through the day. You're constantly craving everything under the sun, whatever the symptom is. It could be right here. Again, now that I'm kind of talking this out, you kind of go, I kind of want to do one of those tests, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
I do, too. That's what I did. And that's what I do.
Yeah.
And then we look at the opportunistic bugs. These are interesting because these type of bugs are if you've ever heard the word dysbiosis or bacterial overgrowth disorders, these guys are the bullies. These guys are the hood rats, the hoodlums that are doing vandalous activity. They're not pathological, so they're not killing people, but they are bullies. They're not friendly all the time, and unless they're subdued. And you should have 0 of these. And then, so when we look at this, and there's a bunch of red high markers, and even the non-high markers but noted present, we know that there's quite a few bullies on the streets and a lot of hood rats in the streets causing and wreaking havoc on. And guess who they wreak havoc on? They are wreaking havoc on page 2, the normal flora. So you don't necessarily, in this case, need to be taking good flora like a healthy probiotic. You need to be doing things to address the overgrowth. We need to get more police force involved in these neighborhoods. We need to make sure that we got some patrol cars 24/7 looking, observing, and keeping peace in the community. Because whenever these guys are at bay, the page 2 guys, the commensal normal flora, can thrive. Therefore, we elevate absorption. We elevate assimilation. We elevate cell-to-cell regenerative patterns. And then we look at funguses. Do you have any? Do you have candida? I hope not, but man, a lot of people could and do. And viruses, we want to look at, do we see Epstein-Barr in there? Do we see cytomegalovirus in there? I mean, that just sounds terrifying as it is, a cytomegalovirus. Ooh, sounds like a really bad villain, from Marvel or something. And then, the last page, the second to last page, we're looking at parasites, protozoa. We're looking at worms. Ooh, that sounds grody, right? And but you can have parasites empty on this page and still test for parasites in other areas of the body, because this is just looking at parasites and worms in the gut. But it doesn't mean that you don't have them other places. I hate to say, there's that crawly sensation you have in your sinuses might not be a sinus infection. It might be a parasite. That ringing in your ears might be from a parasite. Like it could be. They could be other places. But we're looking here to see, like, are you just overgrown with this stuff? I mean, is these guys taking over the farm? That's the last thing we need, is for the protozoan, the worms and parasites to be taking over the farm. And so this gives us key insights to kind of go, no, we're all clear there, or well, we've got some other things to address on page 3 and page 2. So this page looks clear at the moment. But then we go to the second half of the page and we go, what does the intestinal health look like? We got digestive issues. So, are we looking at what's the fat content of the poop? Does that matter? Well, yeah, because if you're not getting enough good healthy fats into the system and it's all filled up in your digestion, you're not absorbing other nutrients as well. So this could create a window into the overall health and well-being of the tissues. Looking at elastase, it's a digestive enzyme, and if you don't have enough digestive enzymes, guess what? You're not absorbing. You're not potentially going to assimilate at the level that I think you would want to. Because again, to assimilate well, to age well, you need to have good working function of your normal flora, a headlock and a subduing of those opportunistic bugs, not have an overgrowth of worms or parasites, and have adequate pancreatic function, liver function. If those tissues are working like they're supposed to, it gives us insight to overall well-being. You're on path. You're on trajectory. Things are going very well for you. Or, no, we got a little bit of tweaking to do. Maybe this is why you've been having so much anxiety, depression. Maybe this is why you're having so much belly pain or skin issues. So let's look at this a little bit more deeply and stay in this vein a little bit. We look at GI markers. We look for blood. Well, that's probably important. We look at immune responses. We look how healthy is the immune system of the digestive tract. Remember, each system as a whole has like a local immune response, and then systemically a synergistic, organistic immune response where everybody mounts an attack together. But you need the locals working diligently at their level so that when they need to mount up like Voltron, they're able to do so, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell I'm an 80s kid.
I can, yes.
That was definitely an 80s reference.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I just aged myself. It's okay. Carrying on.
First thing that came to my mind was Power Rangers.
Oh, see? I know what age bracket you're in then.
Yeah.
Because I was not a Power Rangers kid. I'm a Voltron kid.
Same idea, though. Yeah.
Yeah. True. Team immunity. So it's a truth. If you look at it from a life lesson perspective, like shared goals build unity, right? So if all of your commensal bugs are working together synergistically, shared goals build unity. It builds the whole organism. So you are cellularly going to be built from within. Everything that you're capable of on the output side, productivity side, is because within that foundation inside, cell to cell, is where it needs to be. And so it starts with nutrition, but nutrition based on the function of digestion and absorption. And so, again, another great reason why we run these tests. And then we look at the do you have a reaction to gluten? That's a big thing these days. People check. Well, we check that to make sure that you're not overreacting to certain food allergies. In this case, gluten. And then we look at the inflammation as a whole. It's how out of balance are you? And are you so out of balance that we need to be like really worried? Is 75% of your gut wrecked? Is 20% wrecked? And this calprolactin gives us that number, and it gives us that picture. And then last but not certainly least on the evaluation side, we look at zonulin. So you got occludin, actomycin, and zonulin. These are the staples that hold enterocytes together, or the cells of your intestinal wall. right? So you have a bunch of cells butted up together against each other, glued together by zonulin included in actomyosin. And these are like, I just would visualize the little suspension channels on a bridge that hold the pieces together, so that when we drive across, we have a bridge. And they expand and contract, and probably very similarly as an expansion joint. Well, if zonulin included in actomyosin are broken, you could have a setup called leaky gut. People are starting to wake up to this term. Leaky gut, meaning you actually got potholes on your bridge. You have potholes in the ground. Things are seeping through that don't need to seep through. Where are they seeping through to? To the blood. And so now we're actually having a direct impact on inflammation in the blood. And so now we can start seeing reasons why the test of the blood, because if the blood is your lifeline and your body is going to have buffering systems to protect the blood first at all cost, because when this thing gets out of sorts, there's trouble in River City. What movie's that?
I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Come on.
What is it?
Music Man. One of my favorites. That's the third. We've done good today. Movie reference.
I don't think I've ever seen Music Man.
Oh, I'm sad for you.
I'm gonna write it down.
You were mistreated, and but we still love your parents. And but you can make it up to your kids and become a great parent if you let your kids see the Music Man.
It's the Music Man.
Yeah, the Music Man.
See, I think
it's
Music
a
Man.
Broadway hit, and I have seen it at least 100 times. Seen it 5 times live. It's legit.
Is it close to Mary Poppins?
It's gonna be in the realm. Lots
See,
of
I wasn't
singing.
really a fan of Mary Poppins. I would like it wasn't for me. Maybe I'd appreciate it more now, but as a kid, I'm like, what's going on here? This might as well be black and white.
KHEA Radio. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have to discontinue the show. It's like, man. I mean, so yeah, no. So if you're not into song movies, and yes, you would not like the Music Man. But
I liked Encanto. I like song movies.
Okay, fair enough.
It's kind of like a musical cartoon.
That's true. That's true.
Close.
Well, Music Man is it's a real people. And but River City, Iowa, and man, if the songs don't catch you, you really ought to give it a listen. Is there any Music Man listeners out there? Any fans out there that have given me some props to say love the Music Man? I hope so.
Who likes the Music Man? So I like Music Man bass guitars. That's my thing. Ernie Ball, Music Man, and so I feel a connection.
Yes,
I have like 4. Those are my number ones.
We'll bring you in with that.
Okay,
I mean if that's what it takes. Well, it's always about fishing. It's not always catching, but we're fishing.
Right,
and I like it. So. But getting back to this and finishing up and wrapping up is looking at the zonulin and ideas in this leaky gut. If the gut is leaking, we've got to fix that. We can do that with things like L-glutamine and other digestive restorative properties to maximize the health and vitality of the gut. And my last little comment about how powerful the gut is. There's 3 million more neurotransmitters in your digestive tract than there is in your brain. So if you ever have a sixth sense and you know that it's always dead on, you probably have a very healthy gut lining. And that sixth sense is an indicator of the butterflies in your stomach guiding you, if you will. And so it's like God gave us an internal compass. The only issue is it isn't interpreted in our neocortex, our cortical thinking brain, because it's in your gut. But you can definitely get a sense for efficiency. But if you got brain fog and you can't ever seem to make good decisions, you're wishy-washy, well, maybe you got some gut issues. And we want to look at these things and see overall who is living in your GI tract, who is living down there and wants to be a part of your wellness plan. I want the good guys working in my favor, on my behalf, forever that I'm on this planet and in this earth suit. And I want that for you. I want you to know that testing is important, and you can't expect what you don't inspect. That's why we do at Living Well some testing whenever we have tough cases, or just we've gone a long way with a care plan, and we want to just take it up a notch and dig a little deeper and look a little deeper and make sure everything is running according to plan. And so when we look at these tests, these are just a couple of the tests that we offer at Living Well, but we want you to know that there is tools and value more than just a supplement, more than just a detox. We have other ways of assessing you and figuring out where we need to start with you. And so we encourage you, give us a call, 281-554-8600, and let us teach you where your body's breaking down, what you can do to fix it so that you can live the best life that you can while you're in this earth suit, while you're on this planet, while you're making a difference in everybody's realm, everybody that you come into contact with, every work environment you get exposed to, every opportunity to meet somebody new or to inspire somebody to new levels. We want you to be able to do that, but if you don't feel good, it's very difficult. So I hope that encourages you. I hope that excites you, that there's another aspect of looking at you through a different set of lenses, a wellness lens, and that's where we want you to live, is in that wellness vein, because these are the places that are the small, easy things to fix, and it's in your control. You just got to be willing to do some testing in order to find out where your baseline is, and appreciate that your chemistry set likes to be evaluated, and it likes to be tweaked. And if you're way out of sorts, we'll get you back in sorts, good working order. So I pray that you all have a fantastic, lovely, wonderful day. As usual, at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, we believe that all life starts and stops at the cellular level, and nutrition is your fundamental backbone. And we know that today, as we learned, it's all about how well you absorb it from how well you digest it. And we can give you insights and tools on how to live the best absorbable, digestive life possible. And we do it every week, talking with you on the radio, bringing you the most up-to-date health and wellness information. And we're excited that you're subscribed and a part of our show. God bless you all. Have a fantastic day.
This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM.